Welcome to Soul Talk. Nancy Roland Weber here, and I'd like to share something before all the holidays in the US and anywhere else in the world who's watching. I've made lots of mistakes, lots of what my author friend Pat Wetzel says bumps in the road, name of her book. And I'll have her on for an interview uh, probably after all the holidays. I haven't done many YouTubes recently. I kept redoing and throwing them out, didn't like it. I felt there's something missing here, and what is missing, and how can I help all of you who watch? What can I say to you that will make a difference for you? So I'm going to share something that I've begun sharing. My writing career began when I was a little girl. Loved writing, right? I loved putting uh, pieces together, puzzles, and I loved writing. Those two stood out a lot as alone things that I enjoyed. Over the years, I never thought of myself as a writer, not at all. So can you relate to that about something you suddenly discover that you're pretty good at, but you didn't know it? Or you're not very good at it, but you really love it? Somewhere along that line, that's a mixed bag for me. And so back in, oh, I don't know, probably in the 70s, I started writing poetry, thoughts. On and off, I kept a journal on and off, very scattered, right? In that sense, busy life. And then in the 1980s, something weird happened. The only time I ever dropped something really bad, never did, but a log. I was getting logs from the outside in Bud Lake, New Jersey, where I lived at the time, and for the wood stove, and I dropped it on my toe. The odd thing about that is it hurt for a few minutes and then it didn't because it wasn't bad. But that day, I had an urge to start writing poetry. And over a course of months, I wrote hundreds of pieces on diner mats and napkins and put them in a bag. And shortly later, I had signed up for yoga, maybe 1982, 83, somewhere in there. And I was working with the police, but I was also doing client work, etc. And I met a woman named Elaine Silver, a folk singer at yoga. And one day she came in at night and she said, I am so bored with my songs. And I said, well, I have a few hundred poems. Maybe I have a feeling some of them would be good for sing songs. So if you're interested in that outcome, you can always go to my blog at my website. My name is my website, and take a look at the songs there at the scroll down from the story about Elaine Silver with a guitar, and you'll be able to hear two of them. One of them won the Garden State Arts Award of the year that year. And that's New Jersey, by the way, Garden State, believe it or not. Anyhow, fast forward. I then in about 87, I met a woman named Sue Pellicati. Well, probably before that, I don't know. And she was a client, right? And I decided, oh, I see us writing something together, a nonprofit. So we did. And in 1989, my husband and I married, and he joined the forces of the nonprofit we created. I had written bylaws. I had filled out the form. He filled out an awful lot of it. And I did my part, and the rest I went, I'm gaga, I can't figure it out. And he said, I'll take care of that. He called the IRS, and they helped. Holistic education. We no longer have it, but we ran 13 years of holistic festivals in the state of New Jersey. But I wasn't the writer. We had 12 songs, Elaine Silver and I, through BMI, we registered it, but I'm not a writer. Do you get that? Do you get that about yourself sometimes, where you go back and forth about whether you're good at something or not, or you don't even see yourself that way, but others do? And they say, yeah, you're really good at that. And you go, no. Well, that was me. Maybe that's you. Maybe that was you and is not. So congratulations. I got mine much later. So flash forward, 1994, I was invited to teach at the International Women's Writing Guild by the founder, Hannah Laura Hahn, who was a dear lady. And I was also allowed to take any classes I want. And one of the classes, they said, name a title for a book. I'm not a writer, I had told her. I don't know why I'm even here. And so I wrote down psychic detective. And then when I said it, because they asked all of us in turn, they all went, that would be a fabulous fiction. I said, it's not fiction. What? I said, no. They said, what are you talking about? So I told them, and they went, write it. Well, here's the key. Some of us don't learn so easily, and some of us are very independent and stubborn, double. And so I refused help. I didn't even look for help. I just wrote my book. But one of my dearest friends, Iris Nevins, amazing artist. Oh, just look up her website, Iris Nevins, Nevins. Oh my God. Anyhow, I wanted to interview the detectives I had worked with and become very close to because I knew all the cases were done, safe, adjudicated, but also safe for everybody, families, everyone. And so she said, well, let's record them. And I said, well, I don't know. And she said, I'll interview them with you. Hard to ask for help. Ever relate to that? Breakthrough. I'm telling you, breakthrough. If you don't, you can read my book and it gives you lots of instruction on how to break through because I'm always trying to break through something. So we go and interview, we do that. I put it in my book, word for word, on their interviews. And my husband knows how to do copyright and ISBN, so he does that. And we print a whole 100 copies. And I refuse to let anybody edit. I think maybe my husband tried to, but I was so mad at him because the first thing he ever did was try and correct me on my first page of the book. And so I said, nope, you're not seeing it till it's done. Got it? This is the other part of me. And so that 100 copies went out. I think I kept one or two for myself. And that was it. And in today's world, some people are reselling it. And I saw it for 800. I'm telling you, don't buy it. It's the worst written book I've ever done. It's the worst writing I've ever done, bar none. So 1995, I get a call from a man who wrote Fort Apache, Tom Walker, who produced the film Paul Newman did, and his agent. And they want me to co-produce a story of my life for 2 hours. Stephen Canal buys it, sort of, doesn't finish the contract. Then he sells his company. All bets are off. And Tom calls me upset. And I said, this was the positive part of me coming out finally. And he said, this is horrible, blah, blah, blah. Maybe we ought to try. I said, stop it. He said, why? I said, the rhythm of the universe and what's best spiritually for all of us has to be a match. And apparently it isn't. So let it go. The right things will happen when the right things are meant to happen, and not a moment before that. See, I didn't open that door. They opened it for me. And then the universe said no. And so it was easy for me to say no, because I didn't put my heart and soul into everything at that time. Not the book, not that. So 2002 or so, I decided to rewrite the psychic detective one, which still was pretty awful, a little better, and an animal communication one. Some people loved it. It was kind of silly, but it also had the stories. But again, it wasn't professional by far, nor did we have savvy computers, online Facebook, social media, or any of the rest. So I would bring it to the library, and the library would call another library, and then Barnes and Noble. And if you didn't sell enough of them, they would make you pick it up and return it or throw them out. And so I said, nah, no more. I'm done. And I did a lot of workshops and classes and clients and love it all and a lot of weddings. And most people don't know I did thousands of weddings since 1980, except the people who I did marry and their friends who see me on a YouTube as a psychic detective. And I get a, really? We didn't know that about you. And I said, well, now you do. So if you happen to like to do a lot of different things, take heart. You're a Renaissance person. We're not scattered. We're jugglers, master jugglers. Got it? It's all okay. And I had put writing aside, but I never stopped writing. I just thought for my own benefit, everything that was interesting to me that was life, I wrote. I wrote and wrote and wrote. And then I don't remember when I got it on Facebook. Took me 2 years to even do anything with it. So people who are afraid of Facebook, I have helped them be on it safely. And in case you don't know, if you don't know Blue Sky, many people are on Blue Sky now, 25 million at least. And it is people who didn't want to stay on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. So that's a very gentle, loving one that I look at. Probably will join. So I started coming out of my cocoon in that way. Other parts of my cocoon were broken long ago. Justice, I become a feisty, fierce lady, and I always go, I don't care if it's gray hair or I'm 30 when I start or whatever. I go right into it. I say yes to everything about it that I can possibly say. I have no problem with it. I have no problem teaching it. None of that. That was my good, strong point. Can you relate to having your strong points and the other parts that you're going, what do I do about it? Again, that's why I wrote my book, because if you're like me, you need ideas one after another that will resonate with you. And then those ideas will click in other ideas in you that are authentically yours. Write them down or record them voice, but save it. That's yours because you're going to be able to look back and go, I get it now. I broke through. So I always know the pivotal moments. One of them was I kept getting this email from a guy named Steve Harrison, a free webinar on being a successful author. And I would always pass it by until one day I didn't. And I see one of my favorite people in the world, Jack Canfield, who I knew of when he first began Chicken Soup for the Soul. And he's telling how Steve Harrison brought his book out, publicity, marketing, teaching, everything, got him to move it into a 500 million sales now for his success principles. I think he sold Chicken Soup for the Soul, his partner and he, and etc. And then another image of Robert Kiyosaki. I have his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And his story is phenomenal too. Robert's book set in a garage. And they spent a lot of money trying to get people to teach them to market or market it for them. Nothing worked. His wife calls Steve Harrison, and the rest is history because he's number one in his genre. Jack is number one in his worldwide, both of them. So I'm going, well, there's something to this, but breakthrough. I've been with them since early 2022, I think. I always want to be with them until I no longer can function. It's been an amazing journey. It is not inexpensive, but it's very inexpensive spiritually because they are all spiritually based so beautifully. Well, that's my soul detective book. So different. Like when Life as Psychic Detective came out, and I loved writing it, and I did have some editors, and All Nature Speaks, I had copy editors, proof editors, but this one, every step of the way, I had coaches, right? Very different, but they're all okay. I like them all, right? So the Life as Psychic Detective, when it came out, I didn't know to get endorsements or give bonuses in the front of the book. I'm telling you, open door, right? I also didn't know that when it first came up on Amazon, I was supposed to do some things like a screenshot that it was a bestseller that day, and I never did any marketing because after all, I'm a healer and I'm a spiritually based person. However, when I joined the Harrison Group, I had one of the best coaches I've ever had, Christina Smith. Angel. She's written probably 13 books, and she teaches about how to market. One of the primary things about it is everything is spiritual. It is not greed. It is not false priorities. It is very, very clear. And I made such good friends all along with other authors. So I'm telling you this simply, one, for you. Absolutely. That's my incentive here. You're my inspiration for doing the right thing because I know how stubborn and independent I am. Ask my husband, and he's worse than me. Ask me. Two of a kind, I know. And so I feel that people who are sitting there with their stories, their gifts, whether it's written or whether it's blogs, essays, poems, music, songs, lyrics, um, just speaking your piece, but not only to a tight-knit group. When you serve more and more, any which way you want, I don't care what it is, then you feel the confidence and the strength and the resilience deep inside you. There's something that happens so beautifully. I found that when I first put on a nurse's uniform, a student nurse's uniform. I was not the same as I had been at home because the feedback was so different and my desire was so different. I had never thought, that my empathy and my sensitivity to things could actually be a very helpful thing to somebody else. I didn't, not from where I came from. Didn't matter. But it changed my perspective on who I am. I want you to take a look at yours and see if it's what you want. And if it is, great, continue your path. You will continue growing. If it isn't all your life the way you would appreciate it and really have an unconditional love of everything about yourself, even the stuff that needs to grow, even the mistakes and the guilt and the shame and the whatever else. Everything can be a recipe for success. Everything can be a recipe for success if we know how to use them, not against ourselves, for our lives. So, my conclusion is I want you to have a lot of fun and I want you to comment so I know what you're looking for also, because I'm going to invite a lot of authors and others that I know, smart, savvy people to help. I need to know what you're looking for. What kind of stories do you want? What kind of training do you want? Any of it. And by the way, not only does the book have 42 exercises, I am using part of that idea as soul discoveries for training in my new 2025 workshops and my community through my online course. So if you get a chance, go to my website, nancyollenweber.com, and subscribe to my free weekly newsletter because you will see specials there, particularly for the holiday if I get this up in time. Sorry, but life is so fast and I've been so busy learning things that I've been slow to put up on YouTube. Hopefully this one goes 1, 2, 3. And so if it does, this is 2024 right now, and I wish you all health and good holidays, whether you are alone or with people. Keep yourself loving your life. Have a beautiful time opening up and helping others and being totally yourself. This is Nancy Olin Weber. This is Soul Talk. And I thank you for paying any attention to this at all. And again, your feedback would be so appreciated. Subscribe and feedback. Thank you. Have a peaceful time.